welcome to Finextra. I'm Josie Waite and I'm here at Metro Bank's Tech Breakfast event, the second in the series, Smart Bets in SME Banking. And joining me is Metro Bank's Chief Commercial Officer, Paul Riseborough, and their Chief Information Officer, Martyn Atkinson. And we're discussing which technologies are transforming business banking and powering the next phase of SME growth in the future. Paul, Martyn, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
No, thank you for your time.
So Paul, what are the biggest challenges SMEs face when managing their finances?
I think there's probably three things. The first one is actually opening a bank account so you can get up and running and trading as a business. I think we find when we talk to SMEs, it can often take weeks. There's a lot of documentation, repeated trips. So actually getting that account open and up and running is a big thing. Making and receiving payments is another one that tends to impact a lot of SMEs. A lot of banks don't make it that simple for SMEs. And I guess thirdly, access to finance. So as the recent report from the British Business Bank made clear, it's still very difficult for SMEs to get access to the finance they need to grow.
Martyn?
No, I agree. I think from an SME perspective, they've got a number of challenges, access to working capital, and for banks, the challenge is to make things as frictionless and easy for them to actually grow their business, because fundamentally that's why they got into what they're doing. They don't want to do administrative, burdensome overhead work. They actually want to grow their business.
Martyn, what are the smart technology bets for SMEs?
It's a really good question. I think there are principally four technology bets that I would look at. One would be around digital ID and V. As Paul alluded to, it's really hard for SMEs to actually open their account. They've got to give a lot of documentation, they've got to go in person, they've got to get all the individuals that are going to be on the legal entity. So actually digital ID and V removes that friction. It makes it a lot more accessible to open accounts, and it allows the SMEs to get access to a transaction account much quicker. I think the second one is the much fabled APIs, particularly in a more connected economy now. SMEs want to make sure they've got connections to the right services, and I think banks are increasingly going to be using APIs to either integrate into some fintechs that offer personalised services to solve real-world challenges for SMEs, or equally just actually getting access to data that's publicly available, so connecting with information from Companies House, for example. Thirdly, I would probably say artificial intelligence, machine learning. So as an SME, you're going to be transacting heavily on your account. I think the ability for a bank to provide insight and start to predict on whether transactions are on the cost line, on the income line, because what that does is it provides a platform for them to start to be able to actually more elegantly fulfill their digital tax, which we know increasingly is going to become a need as the HMRC turns towards their digital transformation. And then I think fourthly is probably invoice and payments. As a business, you have a product and a service that you want to sell, and you've basically got to make sure you invoice. A lot of banks, a lot of SMEs tell the banks that actually they spend a lot of time reconciling. So the ability to raise invoices with maybe more intelligent embedded payment options, whether that's standing orders, direct debits, digital payments, request to pay, will allow a more seamless journey for the SMEs customers, but also will actually improve their reconciliation processes internally, which comes back to the ability for them to actually remove burdensome overhead and just all the kind of mundane activities that SMEs have to go through.
Yeah, so I think from a bank's perspective, it's that decision not to do everything for the SME. So it's deciding who to partner with. As Martyn was saying, APIs make a lot more make partnerships much more viable, and that which bits you're going to do yourself. And I think banks need to be much more open-minded about which services they're going to provide and which they're going to partner to provide. I think if you turn it around, you think about it from the SME's perspective, I guess the point I would make is SMEs need to try out new brands, need to try out new fintechs, because adoption for a lot of these fintechs is a really big deal to make sure they've got a viable business. So from an SME perspective, make use of the tools and the latest technology that's out there, because it can really help you manage your business.
Paul, how will the market play out for fintechs and other tech firms seeking to serve as part of the SME value chain?
Well, I think it's a really exciting time at the moment. That's the first thing to say. London's fast becoming the fintech capital in the world, let alone Europe. So lots going on. I think you're probably going to see two models emerge. One is going to be fintechs, seeking to replace banks wholesale, and you're already seeing that in the market, are really taking banks on head on. And then you're also going to see a partnership model approach where banks are going to seek to pull out a certain service lines, product offerings, and actually partner with fintechs to deliver them. That to me sounds like quite an exciting future. More people involved in the market, more competition, better services for SMEs, and certainly at Metro Bank we think that's a good thing, and we're very up for partnering with fintechs that want to do that.
Yeah, I agree with Paul. I think we've moved on in the industry from a battleground of competition between the banks and the fintechs to a more collaborative, a more partnership and a more symbiotic relationship the banks are now going to get access to organisations that can provide really niche and tailored services that arguably they don't maybe have the tech skills or the ability to deliver. And from a fintech perspective, they're getting access to large-scale organisations and therefore customers. So I think increasingly we'll see probably a bit more platformification in that the banks will start to create wider platforms and they'll integrate fintechs from different marketplaces to serve the needs of SME customers, which I think is a great place if you're an SME customer.
Thank you, that's been very interesting. Paul, Martyn, thank you very much for speaking with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching.